Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olawale Fabiyi. First, I'd like to thank you for coming to my talk. I'm the technical advisor to the Gambia Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology on a World Bank-funded digital transformation project called EMIS. EMIS is an acronym for Higher Education Management Information System, and the project was actually set up to give a full digital transformation effort to the work the ministry does in the Gambia. All right. So this was what actually happened. Before we actually did anything, we needed to speak to the users because it would be very useless for you to build and then now go deploy to your users at the end of the day. So what we did was we called several institutions and stakeholders. We brought them to a room at the ministry in Banjul, and then we listened to them, what are their pain points and how we want to work on the system we want to. So again, like I said, the EMIS is an acronym for Higher Education Management Information System, and it's a turnkey solution to help solve the ministry's needs. But still, looking at it, if the Ministry of Higher Education has the whole outlook of the higher education sector, it's still going to be a problem. And digital transformation is incomplete if they do not digitize their own processes. So I came to them, hey, even with whatever you do with your different institutions, you still have to also digitize your own processes. So we were doing a full digital transformation project. So what actually happens is that most projects actually perpetuate and think, oh, everybody, all stakeholders are at the same level. But that is not the case, because some institutions might be using full-blown ERP systems, some are using Access, some are using Excel, and then some are using paper. How do you make sure that you build for everybody so that no stakeholder is left behind, which is the essence of my talk. All right, so as I said, we started by bringing everybody together. It was multi-day stakeholder engagement, and as I mentioned, some had full-blown cloud-based ERPs, some had Excel-based systems, some use paper, most of them. So before this, nobody had asked them, how do you actually get your things done? In fact, initially there was a project called EMIS, before the HEMIS came in. Most times I was explaining to somebody earlier today, what institutions actually do is that when they build, they actually outsource their technical knowledge to the vendor. So the vendor builds and then forces whatever they build on them. But since there's no governance, there's no technical person in-house, then it becomes a problem because it's whatever the vendor builds, they actually get to see. All right, so with this, the traditional answer forces one of two situations. Either you're building for sophistication, that has to do with those that use full-blown ERP system, and then that means you're also going to what? Those that are using paper, you won't be building anything for them. Or you could also be forced to build simplicity. You build simple, then what happens to those that use full-blown ERP systems? You won't be able to accommodate those expansive features. But there's a third option, and that is why we're here today. And all this came from a field-tested solution. This is not theory, this is actually real world. This is a work we've been doing since September last year, and the architecture and everything is currently ready. All right, so again, both parts, right? Either you build for the most capable or simplify for everyone. Both parts actually waste public funds because you're building for a small number, either this way or that way. All right, so after this, we decided to now go to meet these institutions. First, we brought them in, we listened to them, and then we went to their institutions, each and every one of them. So we took up 30 institutions, which actually cut across the different levels you'll be seeing soon. So the 30 institutions, the information we got from them was able to help us make the decision we wanted to make. So some visits confirmed what we were going to do, and some other visits, for example, there was a particular public institution that the government is really funding, and we thought they should be at level 1. So just to give you some heads up. We have level 1 to level 4. So we thought they could be at level 1, but then getting there, we realized their servers were down, broken, nobody was doing anything. So it was more governance than what you could think of. So going there, seeing them, talking to them, listening to them actually helped us to be able to architect a system that would actually help everybody to get in. All right, so the reality, like I said, the reality was more diverse than anyone had documented. So from the 30, we realized that nine of them had full-blown ERP systems, and which means they are level 1 ready. And then one person was land-based. So they have an ERP system, but it's only used locally. So anytime they leave the institution, they cannot use the systems. And as you can see, staggering 60% either use Access or Excel. For them, they're in level 3. And then level 2, one of them actually used paper. But most of these guys still use paper too, paper and Excel. One of these guys used paper. And we had to also place the institution I talked about here because they needed intervention. All right, so this actually helped us make it 100% integration feasibility within the project. So the diversity was not a barrier, but then it was design. At the end of the day, it is what you design for everybody that has to do with the capability of the system. All right, so when I did my submission for OCX, it was called the 4-level integration framework. As you saw, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 1 are for institutions that have full-blown ERP systems and are able to be API-ready. So what the MS platform would do is that it will connect to the different institutions and then get data from them. Usually what the ministry does is that the ministry sends Excel sheets to every institution and they ask them for institution data, student data, and all those data. And they do it like every other month, every 3 months. In fact, during our first stakeholder consultation that we brought them in when I joined the ministry, they were like, oh, we are tired of always being asked to send in Excel sheets. We do this over all the time, and nothing happens still, because they'll still come the next time and still ask us for the same data. But with this, it's creating what? Permanent inclusion for everybody at the end of the day. So I've talked about this. Level 1, online system pathway. Level 2, networks, local network systems pathway. Level 3, structured data pathway. And then level 4, assisted entry pathway. Still, all of them would still be able to use what? This at the end of the day. So the essence is that every institution connects and nobody waits for anybody. All right, again, as I said, you came in thinking you're coming to see 4-level integration framework. But the work didn't stop. Remember, the project is still on. Right now, we are currently waiting for the vendor. The project, as I said, it's a World Bank funded project, and I'm the consultant on it. So it's now with the World Bank, and I think by now it should have been pushed to STEP, RFP, so that people, institutions, technology firms can bid on it. But still, while we were working with the institutions and we're refining everything we were doing. We go to the field, talk to them, come back, and then that's brought this capability bridging framework. Yes, the methodology is 4-level integration, but then it's about capability, bridging their capabilities at the end of the day. So the 4-level integration methodology is how it works, and then capability bridging is actually what it does. All right, so it's a framework. The capability bridging framework is actually an open framework that actually helps to build inclusive digital systems. All right, so what you actually do is that you assess before you build. Because looking at it, like I said, this happens all the time. Then institutions will outsource their knowledge, their technical knowledge to vendors. Vendors just build whatever they need to do and then bring it back into the organization. But what should actually happen is that every institution, before going into any digital transformation project, they should actually have to do what? Assess their capabilities first. So either you are going into an integration project or you want to just do something solely on your own. So there are actually 6 major dimensions, and there's a 7th. Again, while we were building, this came, I think, 2 weeks ago, we realized finances is also very important. How do you sustain a project without finances? So looking at this, the slide ended at 6, but the tool has 7. So first, you look at system infrastructure. What technology, so the assessment goes through this 6 path. System infrastructure, what technology do they actually use from day to day? 2, dimension 2, digital literacy. Can staff actually get to manage this technology? Because we realized there was a particular regulatory, a technical arm of the ministry. I'm trying to be very anonymous as much as possible. So what they did, they built a platform, and then nobody uses it. In fact, they said they did UAT. And I'm thinking, how can you do a user acceptance testing and there's no data in the system? It's impossible. You know, so it's about ownership and all those things. So second is connectivity. Do they have reliable connectivity? And then third is digital literacy, which I've talked about. Then fourth, data management practices. How do they actually collect, store, and manage data? And then 5, vendor relationships. Most institutions don't have the manpower in-house to actually build systems. So most of them actually outsource this, even though they have IT departments that manage maybe hardware, connectivity, and a few other things. And then the 6th, governance, which I believe, not think, is extremely important. Looking at governance, and that is why a lot of projects fail, because the governance capacity is missing. So looking at these dimensions, this problem actually came from a particular problem. So which means this framework is applicable everywhere. Healthcare, government, agriculture, municipal services, and all. So what is needed to do is that anyone can actually use this assessment tool to actually see the level they are on. I'll do a brief demo at the end of this. All right, so this is just an example. So for example, this institution, let's assume for their system infrastructure, they have cloud, ERP, and public IP access. They'll be in that would be level 1. Connectivity, reliable broadband, level 1. Digital literacy, they have dedicated IT team, and then in-house developers, level 1, 2. They have structured databases, regular exports, level 1. And then they have active contracts and documents are available, level 1. And then governance capacity, they have formal policy in practice. So in reality, they should be at level 1. But the institution actually said they wanted level 3. Why? Because the funds are not there. That was why the 7th dimension came in. So again, like I said, the framework is flexible by design. It can be used anywhere. The assessment actually helps you identify capability. The pathway actually reflects reality. This is actually where this institution stands. All right, so along the line, like I said, this whole thing is like a movie, right? It came from reality. So we initially called them capability tiers. So if you say, okay, you're tier 1, you're tier 2, 3, 4, you make people look at, oh, does it mean I hope you understand what I'm trying to. So at that point, we decided, oh, why not let's change this? So we decided to call it what? Integration pathway. So if you tell somebody you're in level 4, which means you can still go to level 3, when you add in some things, level 2, and then level 1. So inclusive design is as much about language as it is about architecture. It's more than that. All right, so 4 pathways, 1 source of truth. Here's how this actually works. Again, like I said, governance is not about policy documents. Remember, like at the beginning, I said most institutions have no governance policies. It is not the papers. The papers could be there, but if the papers are not implemented, then it's going to be a problem. All right, so at the end of the day, most of these institutions have agreed to actually get these policies working and all. So we'll look at authoritative source. So the system is supposed to accept, the MS platform is supposed to accept data from different institutions and different stakeholders. For example, the accreditation authority has institutional data. The institution itself also has institutional data. So what is the source of truth from this? The institution themselves. Why? Because they actually own this data. So we'll look at how versioning can be done in this framework. All right, again, we have what? Time-stamped versioning. I've talked about this. So every submission, whether it's an API submission, bulk upload, or manual entry, there's a timestamp on it. And then when there's a conflict, as I've mentioned, data coming from the accreditation authority from the institution, who owns the truth at the end of the day? So all this has actually been put into the framework. All right, so what actually happened was that there was a stark reality. None of these institutions, 30 institutions that actually cuts across all these different levels, none of them had formal data quality procedures, zero. And then this is a problem. If data quality, we know how important data is. If the data quality is very bad, once it gets into the system, then it's going to be a problem for the ministry. Remember, the essence of all this is that for the ministry to be able to make data-driven decision-making. So if the data coming in is not as good as it should be, then it's going to be a problem. So as much as possible from the source, this has to be done. All right, again, like I said, level 1 and level 2, we have real-time API validation on every submission. For level 3, template validation rules built into the upload process. And then level 4, field-level validation in the manual entry portal. So I've been talking about, I'm sure you'll be thinking, this is an open source event. And I've been talking without adding open source. So this, as I said, this is for inclusivity, inclusion and all. So first we would have to look at repository architecture. So it should use modular architecture as much as possible rather than monolith. And then for documentation strategy, the 4 stakeholder types need documentation, be it APIs, be it the bulk upload, be it the paper-based and all. And then time scope. And then community contribution. So tied contribution pathways mirror the framework. So one thing I also haven't mentioned is that the architecture of the platform, of the MS platform, actually follows TOGAF 10. TOGAF is an acronym for the Open Group Architecture Framework. So since it's called the Open Group, so I was thinking back in the day, I was thinking, oh, I think this is open source. Then there was a conference I went to, they were like, no, it's not open source, even though it's an open framework, right? And then it helps you build architecture and actually build inclusive systems too. So you don't have to even implement the old TOGAF implementation. You select whatever works for you, and that works. So finally, the philosophy. So if you believe every institution deserves what? A pathway, right? Okay, I'll go again. The philosophy behind all this. If you believe every institution deserves a pathway into your system, then you should also believe every contributor deserves what? A pathway into your community. As much as possible, you need to build what? Community into whatever you're doing. All right, so currently the site is live, capabilitybridging.org. I'm going to do a very brief demo. All right, so there's an assessment tool. Again, as I said, the capability bridging framework is actually an open framework. It's inclusive, it's ready to use. It has several documents, an assessment tool, 5 downloadable resources. It has a case study. And then one thing I should mention, remember we said this is supposed to be an open platform, right? And it's supposed to focus on what open source is supposed to be. So all the components that was used to build this site are all open source, from Lucy, CFML, it uses MySQL, and it also uses GoatCounter. GoatCounter is an open source analytics platform that helps you to actually anonymize whatever you're bringing in, compared to what, okay, I should mention Google will do for you, right? All right, so I'm going to go into that in a bit. So again, like I said, there are 5 different documents: the position paper, the framework documentation, assessment instrument, governance templates, the EMIS case study. So all of them are available at this. Maybe I should have put a QR code so that, yeah, I'll move on. So while building this first, the case was it is for integration. But I also thought about it while building. What about individual institutions that just want to know their digital readiness level? What happens to them? So I had to include, so it has two routes. First is for institutions that want to integrate a project. So whether you're a platform operator, you're a ministry, or you're a municipal, or you're part of a project team, trying to assess institutions for readiness or integration, the 7 dimensions actually help you to go through it. So it has integration-specific framing and language, technical next steps, per pathway level, financial sustainability, advisory flag. And then for those, maybe single institution that just want to see their readiness level, they can actually get to see. Again, as I said, it is free, no registration, instant results. It could be used with any sector, and it is anonymous too, so you don't have to put in your institution name and all. All right, again, as I mentioned, the assessment tool is live, the framework is live, the governance approach is also live on the site, which I'll be showing in a bit. So, where is this applicable? This is applicable everywhere. Remember, this problem came because we were trying to integrate several systems together. So anywhere you have multi-stakeholder engagements or multi-stakeholder systems to be implemented or integrated, then this framework should work for you. Right? So it can be used in healthcare, maybe Ministry of Health, or maybe WHO wants to integrate a system, and then maybe hospitals all across the country needs to integrate. They can use this. It can also be used in agriculture, municipal service delivery. In fact, these 4 areas have an example as part of the framework that actually shows you how to implement it if you're in any of these sectors. So again, if your stakeholders are not uniform, your architecture also should not be uniform, and you should not assume they are. All right, so the Gambia just happens to be the one that solved this problem for all of us. All right, so the whole essence of this is that no institution is left behind, no stakeholder is excluded, no ecosystem left to figure out how things should be done. Again, to summarize everything we have talked about, we should know that digital transformation that assumes uniform capability perpetuates the very inequality it's trying to solve. So the Gambia's EMIS actually showed that permanent inclusion is very possible, attainable, governable, and deliverable in real-world constraints. So as much as possible, you can take it, you can adapt it, you can improve it. It's open in what we say open sources. So I'll do a quick demo to show us what this looks like. All right, so I'll go to capabilitybridging.org. All right, so the site is, everything we have seen is actually incorporated into the site. So you can read the position paper to actually understand why this framework came in. So you can look at the case study. So this is everything we have seen. You can look at the case study, and then you can also go to downloads. Again, like I said, it is free, it is open, you can start using immediately. So framework documentation, you can download it, the position paper, framework documentation, integration readiness assessment instrument. So you can actually take this into the field because this is also field tested. Governance templates, as we have seen, and then the case study. And then finally, would look at the online assessment tool. So we still have some time. So, all right, so integration readiness assessment. So before we begin, what best describes your situation? We're involved in a multi-stakeholder integration project. This includes institutions being integrated into a shared system, platform operators assessing institutions they need to connect, And project teams mapping an ecosystem. If a national or shared system is involved, choose this. So we'll try this, we'll try the other one, and we'll see how. So again, like we said, these are the different dimensions. Talks about your organization, system infrastructure, system accessibility, digital literacy, data management, vendor and governance. And remember I said there's a 7th dimension. Money is extremely important, even though it does not affect, because an institution could be at level 1, they have everything, but what if they are subvented by the government, and then they do not have money to continue with all this? So I'll try this out. So tell us about your organization. Again, like I said, you can do this anonymously. So this is optional. So organization is optional. Let me leave it optional. So let me call it Aperio Foundation, right? Let's try. All right. What city is it again? Tell me. All right. Oregon. So sector, non-profit. All right. Organization type, non-profit. Do we have non-profit there? Yeah. So we go next. So for this, we'll take the ISO that gives us level 1, or we could mix it. So how does the organization primarily manage its data and operations? Cloud-based, remember this is level 1. And then we have local installed software. This is level 2. Spreadsheets is level 3. So everything I've talked about has been translated into this platform to be used. So I'll choose cloud-based. Oops, sorry, I moved back, so let me just quickly. NGO. All right, so I'll choose cloud-based for this. Next. All right, so how do staff access your main system, let's say from anywhere? So we'll choose this, we'll go. Next. So also the remaining options only from within. So you see everything translates to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Only from within the office or on the office network. Then the third one, only on specific computers in the office, and then no digital access to systems. Next, how capable is your team with digital tools? This talks about your IT team and all. So how would you describe the typical digital capability of your data management staff? We'll pick advanced also. We have intermediate, we have basic, and then we have minimal. How does your organization manage and share data? How does your organization currently collect and store its main data? Again, we have a structured database with consistent standards and validation rules, spreadsheets with some structure but inconsistent standards, mix of digital and paper with no consistent standards, and finally, primarily paper-based. So I'll choose this. Let me move. How does the organization currently share data with external bodies? So I want to choose a different dimension so that you see the way the results are given. I'll do this. We go next. So who supports your technology and how is data quality managed? Okay, you have your own. Who maintains and supports your main technology systems? Our own internal IT team, an external vendor or contractor with an active support agreement, an external vendor but support is limited. I'll choose this now. And then next, does the organization have formal processes for data quality? Yes, we have documented data quality, informal practices, limited data quality, and then no data quality. I'll choose this. Next. So this is the 7th dimension, Can your organization fund its integration? Let's say no current budget, and then we can see results. So it's saying that based on everything we have seen, online system pathway, your organization has the infrastructure for real-time API integration. You can establish an automated continuous data connection with the shared platform. And then it shows you systems infrastructure. So you also have details. It explains whatever you have keyed in. So you can see the details. So what this measures, what this means for you, and then the necessary next steps. All right. Digital literacy is advanced. Data management is advanced. Data sharing, remember we chose. Then it also shows you your funding steps. And then it shows you the recommended next steps and how you can actually get to do things. So this is one. And then you can save it as PDF, send it in an email. So it's still nicely, so you can send it to your board, you can send it to your IT team and all. So I'll go and do the second dimension. So we're assessing our digital, so these are for institutions that are only managing, they are trying to see their readiness level. They are not part of any integration project. So we are assessing our digital capability independently. We want to understand where we stand digitally and what to improve, whether we plan to connect to an external system in future or simply want to run our own operations better. No integration project required at this point. So again, it follows the 7 dimensions, but with different outputs. So again, I'll just use this. Let's say Banjul. Sector, I could say international, no, government, public sector, organization type, government departments, I'll go next. So it's same but different, or it's similar but different. So for this, I'm going to choose, they use paper, next. How do your staff access your systems? Let's say only specific computers in the office. How capable is your team with digital tools? Let's say basic. This is everything we have seen earlier. How does your organization manage and share data? Let's do mix. How does your organization currently share data with external people? Let's do this, and then next. Who supports your technology and how is data managed? Let's say an external vendor. Does your organization have formal processes for data quality? Let me choose yes here. So we see the variations next. All right, can your organization fund its digital capability? Let's say, or no. Remember, this doesn't affect the scores from the 6 dimensions. This is just to actually show you stuff. All right, so you can see system infrastructure, foundational, emerging, data sharing is emerging, and then vendor and governance is advanced, just as we chose, and then we have this. So recommended next steps. So it gives you what? A unique recommended next steps based on what you choose. As you can see, start with one problem, not a plan. Choose the single most frustrating information challenge your organization faces, the one that wastes the most time or causes the most confusion, and solve just that one with the simplest possible tool. A spreadsheet, a shared folder, a consistent register. One thing done well creates momentum. After that, you find your digital person, who is a person in your organization that understands how digital tools are used and all. And then it's also advising you not to buy any software yet. Yeah. Since based on the assessment, don't buy because you do not have the capability, right? And then it's telling you to visit, you can get in touch. Again, as I said, this is an open tool. So you could also save it. This is an open tool available for free for anyone to use. We did this in under 10 minutes for each, so it would not get to waste your time. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming in. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here listening to mine. I appreciate it a lot. Again, my name is Olawale Fabiyi. Thank you. I'll take questions.
You started with mentioning the 50 organizations where you want the information from. How do you get that information if they are filling it in anonymously? How do you get your information that you need for your government?
Okay, so this is a tool the tool came off from the assessment. So just to mention, I got a go-ahead from the ministry because I know how sensitive this can be. So the framework actually came from the work we were doing. Okay. So it's separate from the work. So the institutions, they are different. The tool itself is different. Thank you.
Have you seen adoption outside? What's the uptake been?
So thank you for bringing. So this is the first time I'm presenting this, and thank you for bringing that. I forgot. I was going to go into. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So this hasn't been shared anywhere. I've not discussed this with any. Well, I've been discussing with people, but I've not actually pushed this. So going to Goat Counter, since I deployed this site on the 30th of March till today, less than a month. And then there has been about 65 people that visited the site. There's nothing else. I've not pushed. I've not done any digital marketing or anything. While building, I just realized people have been visiting, some way, somehow.
What's the plan to get the word out there?
Yes, I'll get there. I just need to show. No, it's fine. I need to show something quickly. So I'm going down. So you can see 4 people have downloaded the position paper. 2 people have downloaded the governance templates. And then the most intriguing one is the locations. Of course, Gambia. We have United States, 64 from Gambia, 29 from United States, 6 from Belgium, 3 from the Netherlands, 2 from Canada, 2 from France. I don't know why it has double France here. Poland, 2 from Poland, 2 from Sweden, 1 from Denmark, 1 from Israel, 1 from Spain. So about 12 countries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Without, while still building the site. So I believe this has the potential to actually redefine how digital transformation is actually done across the world. So, yeah, to answer that, once the site is live, now I would do more of pushing the word out, as this has already started, push the word out. It's a free tool, anyone can use it. Of course, we use social media channels and all. So I'm not, it's just a side project, but I see it as also a very important project. Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to know if I know students that would love to get involved, develop, and harden their web coding skills and stuff, and they want to contribute to your website, to your survey and stuff. Is this open source yet?
I could open source it.
Okay. Would you be able to announce when it's available, and maybe we could figure out how to get students to look at it?
Definitely. I'll share my cards with you, with everybody, of course, so that we could, at the end of the day, I'm saying it's open. Most of the work is in the documents, the templates and all. So if I can make that open, why not the site itself? So definitely we're going that route. We're all open source advocates, so we need to actually preach what we...
And you could protect your data, but the site itself is what I'm saying.
Sure.
This looks like something students would love because it's giving them experience, but it's a not too hard problem yet.
Yeah. Sure. Cool. Thank you.
You look like you have a question.
Just a minor question. I saw that quite some of the answer options, they were an either or, with no level of maybe you're with some of your systems already somewhat more advanced versus another half of your systems not so advanced yet. Is that something that will be taken into account towards the future, so you can be somewhere in the middle of the road instead of an either or?
Yes, thank you very much for that. Again, when this submission was done, it was called the 4-level integration framework. But going into the field, I realized it's more than just the 4-level. That was why it grew into the capability bridging framework, which means definitely more things will be added. In fact, the project hasn't gone live. Once the project goes live and the vendor builds, we'll take lessons from those and also add it in. So as much as possible, it's continuous feedback, refinement, and the end goal is to make sure anyone can actually check their readiness level, they get an assessment, and they know the next steps in what they need to get done. Thank you.
Thank you, very nice.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for sharing the framework. I really like the kind of thought process that went behind it, and I think it's very logical. I wanted to ask in terms of, now that you have this kind of, these pathway systems laid out, are there any resources already available for like how a level 1 could, integrate with a level 4? Because if you are, all cloud-based and, fully API-driven, but then have to deal with a bunch of people who are doing paper stuff, that sounds like a good opportunity for centralized resources on like, here's how to integrate that.
All right, thank you very much. That is the whole essence of the capability bridging framework. So you have a central system that needs to connect to an API-ready system, an Excel system, an access system, paper-based system. So for level 1, it connects via API. The central system connects to other systems via API. For level 2, there will be, since they use Excel, because also you cannot force people to maybe go to level 1 or level 2. For example, an institution is just, trying to get by. You cannot force them to go online, get a full-blown ERP. So you meet them at where they are. So as much as possible, you cannot, for level 2, we'd use bulk upload pathway. They get in their data, they send it in, it's uploaded. For level 3, the same. For level 4, they have a place to key things in. So you have data coming from all the 4 levels. Generally, all institutions or any business can fall in one of these 4 categories. It cannot be more than 4. Either you have a full-blown ERP system, or, well, maybe now that we have agents coming in, maybe we'd have a level 5, whereby we move these guys to level 2, 3, 4, 5, and then agentic comes in level 1, maybe. But for now, it's the 4 levels. So everyone, that is the essence of the capability bridging framework, so that everyone can get into the main system. Thank you. All right. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.